Rats with Team 4545 League, analyzing the game between Jules Raider and Pawn Pusher 3. This event is Team 53. It's the third round, and this is the under 1600 section. So let's have a look, see what happens. Okay. So far, so book. We've all seen this before. Now it becomes an Imzo Indian defense. And white plays the older Queen C2, which has had some revivals. A3. That's just a little peculiar at this point, but it may be a book line on it. I'm sure somebody's played it before. But here I think what black should do is just play knight e4 followed by f5. Okay? So I'll just show you. Knight e4, tempo the queen, and now play f5. Now, white has a myriad of ways to deal with this. Black will continue with b6 and bishop b7. That's his objective. If white doesn't want the knight there, he'll just kick it out. Well, it's kind of hard to say. Can he kick it out with f3? You got to watch out for this trick, queen h4 check. So that knight might be there for a while. Maybe g3, bishop g2, and then f3. I don't know. But anyway, just a suggested line is an improvement for black. Let's go back to what happened. Okay, played b6 directly, and here white shows why black might have considered knight e4. He pins the piece, and I've seen in some. Let me just back up one move. I've seen some Imzo Indian positions where what black does. This is all theory I read 40 years ago, and it was even older than that. Black will play knight e8 here in similar positions with an exclamation point, and the point is that you avoid the pin of bishop g5, and it seems kind of funny that you would drop a knight back to e8 just to avoid a pin. You know, the modern player that we see, they might be playing h6 just to stop the pin. But as I showed, knight e4 directly was a way to do it. But anyway, it's just room for thought, something to think about, an interesting way to break the pin before it happens. Anyway, for what it's worth, black's got it, white's got his pin, and both sides just continue their development. Now this is kind of odd. Why does he move that? Why not just continue with pawn to e3? Okay, what's wrong with just getting ready to develop? Nothing wrong with it. You got to get castled. Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to belabor that point. Knight d2 is white. Black can just smile at that. Continue his development, which he does. I guess white was trying to prepare e4, which I guess he could have done this move. I don't know. Maybe he was afraid black would chase the knight out or something. I don't know. He wants e4 in. That's what he's playing for. And that's h6 is okay. And c5, strike with the center. And that's good for black to play this move, because if you look, black's almost completely developed. He just has to move his queen, and he has to move his queen rook, and he's done. And white still has to get his king bishop developed and castle. So white's still 3 moves away from completing his development. And black is striking in the center. Okay, so white goes to get his pawn center, and white can probably say I'm okay here. And logically he is, but he really hasn't demonstrated a whole lot. And this is good. Develop the rook. Now black's almost got his development complete. And at this point, white just kind of self-destructs. Let's just evaluate this for a moment. What white should do is move his king bishop. You pick a square. Where do you want to go? d3 or e2? The point is, you get castled. Then you start looking for stuff. But black's done okay here for himself. He's let's just put him on e2. Okay, let's keep him off the d file. What's black going to do to justify everything? Well, he can take on d4 and then drop a knight into c5. Okay, now white could chase it. I'm just saying, we're just looking at some ideas here. White could chase it. Okay, well, knight a4. A little awkward place for the knight, but we have to watch d6. Okay, maybe not c5 just yet, or c takes d4 yet. Black could play the classic answer to this opening. Whoops. Okay. I know what's wrong here. I'm suggesting bishop e2. Okay, black could play the classic approach to this with e5. Okay, now if white pushes by, black has two potential pawn breaks. These are some ideas to consider. And if white takes, black really has nothing to fear here. Objectively, black's got both sides want to occupy what we call the queen 5 square with a knight. Neither side is really poised to do that just yet, but black can redeploy the knight and do it. He should be okay here. White really is going to have, well, he can get there, knight f1 to d3, or I'm sorry, to e3 to d5. This is a possibility, and I'm not going to belabor all this. It's just some ideas for the players to check out. But anyway, e5 just kind of throws everything away here. Black handles this very well from here on in, just about. Okay, hit that, undermining d4 or e5. Now there's a tempo on the queen, so that's got to be dealt with. And now another tempo on the queen. And how's white going to handle this? If he moves his queen, he's just dropped a pawn, right? So white tries this tricky move, and black just trades off queens, and he's a pawn ahead. So now the question is, how do you win this? You're a pawn ahead with a theoretically winning ending. How do you win this? Well, you just start playing endgame chess, okay? And this is fine. If we can get the bishop pair, let's get it, okay? And white allows it. So theoretically, black's got everything he wants here, and he's got his bishop developed, his two rooks developed. He's a pawn ahead. White still has two undeveloped rooks. The only thing white did manage to get was get his king to the center of the board, something you want in the ending. But we all know too, that sometimes that king can be a target. So black just goes about his way. This is good. Put the pawn on a dark square, opposite color of the bishop. And that's fine too. Now white can create an outside pass pawn, so to speak, but it's not enough compensation here. He can't get a connected pass pawn, or protected pass pawn, I should say, whereas black has that already. The pawn on d4 is protected by a pawn. So black just kind of maneuvers a little bit, so does white. And now the standoff on the c-file, and black just starts getting his king up. This is fine. Now black took the knight off. He didn't have to. White has a threat, knight d6. Black could play king e6. Maybe he's afraid of c5 or something, and then knight d6. I don't know. But I'm thinking he could do this and try for f5 next move, but it isn't important. It's just something for black to think about. But this is fine. Black is still fine here. It's a routine win. And I'm not so sure about that. The idea is to restrain f5, but black can force it in. And in doing so, he can open up some new lines. The h-file could open up. Okay, just for instance here, black could play this move. Okay, what's white going to do? If he plays h3, you take it, and now you come over here and you got a new file to work on. Black's in control of that one, and white's not going to get anywhere shoving that pawn, and this rook could get very, very active. Okay, and also if white takes it, you still come over here, and now you're going to win this pawn and then be chasing the king out, and then you got a couple weak pawns here. So h5 would have been a good move here. It's what black does is fine. Whoops. What black does is fine. He's preparing f5, but sometimes you can get a little bit more out of a position, and there were a few points in this ending where black might have tried to get a little bit more than he actually got, and may have settled for not as good as he could have gotten, but he did fine, and white's just trying to survive. He's down a pawn, so sometimes being down a pawn in a rook ending, you can still draw, and white's just got to wait and see what black does and hope for the best. So nothing wrong with trying to get rid of some pawns, but then, and I'm not sure if that's the best, but he played it, but it's still okay. Like for instance, if white plays f5, you chase the king out, but eventually black's gonna find what he needs to do, h5. He's gonna find that and try and get some activity on that file. And let's just take a quick look. Check. Okay, let's go to d6. Keep an eye on c5. Okay, now what's white going to do? If white doesn't do anything, black's going to be pushing h5 in a moment. I guess the worst that could happen to black is if white tries it. And if black doesn't take, white's just going to push by. Now he's going to push by, but black should still be okay here. You'll just go and open up the queen side and a5. You'll eventually open up a new line. The black rooks will get active. But it's just some possibilities to look at. So I wouldn't have necessarily played g5. I might have stuck with the idea of f5 check. But this is okay. Black can pick his ways to win this. There's so many of them. Okay, so c5, and this is fine to take. And now it's good to get off a set of rooks. Now here I think black missed a good move. Just go ahead and play rook f8. It's going to drive the king out. Okay, so what's white going to do? If he shoves the pawn, he's just shoving it to where it's going to be lost. Okay, now just go king d6. What's white going to do? He's going to lose the pawn, right? If he shoves it to c7, black just brings the rook over and takes it. So what's white going to do here? This rook check is coming. I don't know. Let's spend a move here. Okay, let's guard that pawn that was under attack. And now we come up here. Now white still can't do c6 because black will just drop the rook back and end up collecting that pawn as explained before. So what does white do here? He's really in trouble. e4 check is coming, and those pawns are just going to run right up the board. They're connected, and they're dangerous. Okay, so what black did was kind of odd. I thought, you had the two connected pass pawns. Keep them. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. Black's still winning this. It's just, to me, it was odd. And black's just giving white a little better chance at hanging on than he had to allow. So it's a good rule of thumb. You want to try to find the best move against everybody, because the stronger your opponent, the more chances he's going to have to come back. And theoretically, if Pawn Pusher was playing a 2200 player here, even though he should still win, he may end up getting only a draw because of a few other imprecise moves down the line. But it clearly wins. It's just you didn't have to give up the connected pass pawns. And now black has great king position. He's going to win back his pawn, just as I said. So it kind of reaches similar positions to what we had already, but black could have had a little bit more. And we just kind of move on, and this is fine. And here what black needs to play is just simply a6, and you'll see why in a moment. Or maybe it wasn't here. Maybe it was this move. Or coming up. Yeah, a6 here. Just keep the rook out, because now his king got kicked out, and really doesn't matter what white does. He's going to be losing pawns and get into a lost game. Maybe he had some ways to try to extend it, but in the long run, black should prevail here. But now black found it. But it's slightly different than before. The king isn't up on e5. White could check and pick up this pawn, but in the long run, he's going to lose it. Okay, I'll just show you. Check, take here, and then here. Now go back, make the king go back. This is probably just as good as any. And black should win this. He can play king f4, threatening to drive the king back even further. And if rook check, just king g3, and you're on this pawn too, which is supporting that pawn. But anyway, he didn't go into this line. White didn't allow it. He's still going to lose. And black just shuffles around. And this is a very good move. It just goes right down to a winning king and pawn ending. And I'll just show you a few moves. They played out pretty much to mate, I think. But here, white really has no chance. He can't, if you count the moves, black gets a queen in, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves. White gets a queen in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oops, didn't make it. And white's and black's controlling the queening square. And more or less that is what happens. But anyway, and white can't try to trap the king in there somehow. Okay, I was looking at this as I was watching the game, and black just plays here and wins this easily. Okay, so white won't show you the mate. Very good game, Pawn Pusher 3. Jules Rader, you were okay for a while, but your opening there just kind of self-destructed on you. And I want to thank everyone for watching this video. Thanks for your time, and I'll look forward to making another one for you real soon. Take care.